Next, on the transfer of information from Battalion to our products, we are going to build the company fire support overlay. Now, when you get to your units and you leave Bullock, there may be a Battalion fire support overlay. You will not be provided that while you were at Bullock. So we're going to take the information that we can get from the operations overlay from the Battalion and transfer that onto our overlay. Now, inside of the FSCM, which let me pull back out here, okay? We remember that we were able to see that some of the FSCMs, right, bronze, north, south, silver, gold, and then our NFAs that are listed down here follow something else that's already on the map, okay? And so when you look at your battalion overlay, right, this line without this gap is your RFL North, right? This line without your gap is your RFL South. Your FSCL Bronze follows phase line Bronze. Your CFL Silver follows phase line Silver. Your CFL Gold follows gold here, right? And then the last two things that you're going to have to build are your NFAs. NFAs 1, and it gives you a grid with a radius, and then NFA 2. So in order to do this, if you have the stencil, that's probably your best option to draw some of the symbols. But if you don't, you can use your protractor and draw almost all of the symbols here. So for us to trace this again, I'm going to take down the lower left on the sheet. Now, if you already have your overlay traced, you can just use your overlay. If you don't have your overlay traced, you can use the products given to you from the battalion. I'm going to use the product from the battalion because it's going to be easier for you to see in this video in making your overlay. So next, sheet of acetate, okay? I'm going to lay that directly over that sheet of paper or your pre-existing overlay that you made. And I'm just going to take down the opposite corners here. Okay, now that I have it taped down, I can get to work and start tracing everything that I need. Right, a lot of different ways to do this and make it as neat as possible. It just takes practice. So first time you ever do this, you're gonna make smudges. There's gonna be some smudges on mine. You erase and clean up as you can, or if you have to start all the way over, you do so. So the first thing I'm gonna start with is our grid zone designators, okay? I like to, once I draw the line, just kind of blow on it to help it dry quicker. Record the November Delta in the center, right? Notice the numbers. The numbers on this that we got from the battalion are kind of on the inside of this, outside the boundary, but inside of where we want to operate. For fire support, we always want to go to the outside edges. So for the upper one, we're going to go the top and the sides on this side. So I'm just going to take these same numbers, 6, 4, and 6, 5. 6, 4, 6, 5. Put them on the top, and then I'm going to make these 4, 1, and 4, 2. Right, will not affect anything during this operation, but we want to leave ourselves as much of the overlay as we possibly can for anything that could come up that we're going to construct on the overlay. So I'm going to go ahead and do my second one as well. And again, record November Delta in the center for the grid zone designator. And I'm going to move that 5.5 and 5.6 to the bottom outside of anywhere where we would be wanting to potentially construct something else on our overlay. Okay, so our two grid zone designators are now completed, right? Our information that we're going to put on to label it, we're going to save that just in case there's anything else we're going to add on here. We don't have to erase that and put it back in later. So we're going to leave that for kind of the last thing here as we move forward. So now it's going through and ensuring that we have all of the FSCMs on there. So the order in which you do so, I like to use the execution matrix and just make sure I don't miss anything. Okay, so I'm going to go straight from the beginning of the FSCM to the bottom. I'm going to start with FSCMs, and then we'll look at friendly units that go on your fire support overlay. Okay, so you have that ruler? Actually, I think that'll make this easier. Thank you. All right, so for the lines themselves, okay, I'm just going to start at the top one, which is FSCL bronze. Okay, so for FSCL bronze, it is a solid line, and if you're unsure of which lines and how they're labeled, make sure you refer to your SOP. It's going to tell you exactly how to label these and what to record on each one of them. Okay, for this, I'm gonna make the line go a little long on each side, because of the information that I need to record on here. So for the FSCL, above the line, I'm gonna record FSCL in bronze. EST and establishing unit is going to be 82nd. Underneath it, we're going to put the phases that it is active in, and it is active phase 1 through 4. Okay, on the opposite side, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Running the exact same direction. FSCL bronze. EST, 82nd, and underneath the phases that it is active. And that completes my drawing for the FSCL. Okay, so I can check that one off the list. Okay, moving on from there, down our list here, we have RFL North, which follows the northern boundary. So this being our northern boundary here, right? We're gonna go ahead and trace this. So because the information looks like it could get messy in here with the FSCL, I'm just gonna extend this line a little further so I can make some of the notes in here for annotating the information needed for this specific line. Okay, now I just go through and I draw the line in its entirety. When I get to this section, we have the symbol saying there's a boundary there. There are no boundaries in the RFL, it's a solid line. So I'm going to ensure that I just draw straight through that, and that will become all part of RFL North. Last part of the line here. Okay, information that goes on that is the same as the information from the FSCL. So RFL North, established, and RFL North has been established by 2BCT, and it is active for phase 1 through 4. You have to record this on both ends of the line. So we have RFL North again, EST, 2BCT, and underneath the line, phase 1 through phase 4. All right, now we have the RFL constructed in its entirety. RFL South, again, is going to follow your southern boundary. So we're going to do the same thing for RFL South. This one's a little easier to draw here. Record all the same information again. So this is RFL South, established. RFL South was established by 2BCT, and it is active phases 1 through 4. Same thing on the other end of the line. Just completed RFL South. So our next FSCM from the battalion FSCM after we've completed RFL South is CFL Silver. Okay, so the next one that's listed on the sheet is CFL Silver. So that's the next one we will construct, right? Again, it's going to, from the operations order, run along phase line silver. All right, so this as a CFL is a dashed line. So for the dashed line, same concept here. Run my line just outside of the AO and just start making dashes. To make this a dashed line running onto both sides. Again, since everything is moving this way from east to west, I'm going to label it as such. So this is CFL Silver, and from my FSCM I can see that it is established by 2BCT, and CFL Silver is only active during phase 1. Record the same information on the other side. CFL Silver, 2BCT, and active during phase 1. Okay, that's our first CFL. Second CFL is gold, okay, and that's going to run with phase line gold. So again, I'm going to place my ruler to the edge here to make my line straight over the top of phase line gold, and then I'm going to make my dashed line once again. Once I have that constructed, I'm going to label it the same way. CFL Gold, 2BCT. And CFL Gold is different. If you look back here for CFL Gold, let me turn it so you can see it. CFL Gold is from phase 2 to phase 4, and it's on order phase 1. So we're going to write it on there the exact same way. So CFL Gold is phase 2 to 4 on order phase 1. CFL Gold, 2BCT, phase 2 through 4 on order phase 1. Right, this is the end of the lines that we need to construct. So on our list here, the next thing that we have is our 2 NFAs at the battalion level. These are not our company NFAs over observers. Those are just strictly the battalion ones that have been generated. So circle stencils come in huge here. Okay, I have this one here. and I'm looking to see marks on it for the size, but this one in the center here, if I take my protractor and put it over the top, a radius of the 150 should equal the diameter of 300. So I'm going to verify that, know that that circle is the correct one. Now I take my protractor and I'm looking to plot the grids, which I will have to move this to my shoot board. So pause the video, please. Okay, so I have moved the overlay that we started to construct onto the map by attaching it with some tape. Okay, can't see it real well in the photos, but just know it's the exact same overlay that we've already been working on. All of our data is still on this that we've built so far. So the next step of that is going to be the NFAs, the two from Battalion. So I'm going to plot those. First one is in grid square 6338. So we're looking for the 6-3 box, and then the 3-8 box, which is right here. Okay. Grid, once I've attached my protractor here, 6-3-8-9. So I don't have a long way to shift. And then 3-8-8-0. So I'll put a dot right there. Right, that is the center of the NFA that we're going to construct. Okay, using my stencil, I'm going to place it directly over that dot, and then I'm simply just going to trace it. Once I have it traced, remember NFAs have diagonal lines running through it to signify NFA. To the side of it, I'm going to label it as an NFA. So we need the NFA, the number, name, whatever it is. We need the establishing unit, and we also needed the phases that it's active for. So for this, simply labeled as NFA1, established by 1325, and it is active for phases 1 through 4. Right, and that's the end of NFA 1. NFA 2, same concept here. Grid square is going to be 6133. So look for 61 and 33. Right, we're down here, 6133. Place my protractor over the top of 6133. 6185 and 3354. 3354. Place a small dot there. Stencil back over the top. Draw my circle. Run my lines through the circle. Label it as NFA 2, established by 1325, and it's active phases 1 through phase 4. Okay, so that's the end of the FSCMs per the FSCM document. All right, for this document, that's all of the FSCMs that we need to include here. Right, the next thing that Battalions gave us, we know that we have battalion mortars, we have FA, and then company mortars will come. We can still go ahead and plot the first one, and we know that all things friendly are in blue. So put down my black for a minute, pick up my blue. All right, so from the FSCM, okay, we go back to the FA Orc for Combat. We'll start with FA. We said they're in a 2x2 PAA, and that's the lower left-hand corner to it. There's where the unit is located and what that symbol will look like. So for us in this, we're going to first need to construct the PAA itself. We have not stenciled the PAA on from to our overlay. So you can draw it or you can trace it. Either way is acceptable. Use the edge of the protractor here. And add our PAA to our company fire support overlay. So the PAA has now been constructed. The smudge is on the map itself, not on the PAA. So again, 2x2, multiple ways you can do it. You can just trace it from the battalion overlay. That's probably the easiest. Or you can get the data for the PAA from the FA org from combat on the FSCM from battalion and then construct it that way. For the battery itself, okay, the battery itself, we're going to construct the battery in the lower left-hand corner of the PAA. So for the construction of the battery, all friendly units are going to be in blue. It is 400 by 700 is the size that we're wanting to make this. So if you look at, and you bought the stencil, okay, let's take a look at the stencil real quick. The friendly size for the stencil itself is about 750 by 450. So slightly larger than we want to use. However, if you're using the stencil, talk to your instructor group, talk to your primary instructor to make sure that that size is okay. You should be okay with using the military stencil, and as long as all of the friendly units we're going to draw from here forward are all the same size. So I'm going to use this stencil to draw the friendly units. For the battery and the PAA, they're always going to be located in the lower left-hand corner. This is not where they're actually going to fire from. It's just placing a spot on the map where the battery will then operate anywhere within the PAA. But obviously this is before training, nobody's out in the field yet. So we can go ahead and draw that symbol on the PAA, inside of the PAA in the lower left-hand corner. Okay, so I have the symbol annotated in the lower left-hand corner. So the symbol for the FA that we're going to construct inside of it is that dot, dead center. Okay, dots on each side, and then a line connecting the two at the bottom. Our symbol for the echelon, this is a battery, company level element, a company size element, is that looks like a number 1 just right over the top. Labeling it, okay, what do we have in support of us? What unit is it? So again, back to the FSCM, and we notice that we have Alpha Battery 2319. Okay, Alpha Battery 2319. So we are going to record back for our symbol here. Alpha on the right side about halfway up. And then 2-319 next to that symbol. Okay, again, it shows the relationship on there and how they're supported, but they do not belong to the battalion internal. They're in some sort of a support relationship to the battalion. Okay, so now we've completed our FA, right? So if we look back at our battalion overlay, we'll flip this to the side, all right? And if we remember, when we were talking on the construction of this, we have our battalion mortar primary position and an alternate position. So for the battalion, 2 options. You can pull the information from the operations order, or you can simply just trace it from the overlay. For time's sake, I'm going to go ahead and trace this based off of where the battalion has them placed. Okay, so for heavy mortars, the 120s, all right, it is a platoon. So you have the 3 dots up top. The mortar symbol is the arrow plus 3 lines with the circle at the bottom. You're gonna draw that X directly through the box, and you're gonna label it as the battalion mortars as 1, 3, 2, 5. Okay, so that is your primary position. Now I'm gonna construct the alternate. Same symbol. Draw my lines through. Label it as 1, 3, 2, 5. I'm going to put my head up here so you can see that both of the mortar positions, the primary and the alternate, have now been added to the company level fire support overlay. The only other company level asset that we have, friendly wise for fire support, is going to be the company mortars. And if you remember in this case on the FSCM from the battalion, we have our first mortar firing point, which is at this grid, and the grid is 5950, 3950. Okay, so for the grid itself, looking for 59, and the box itself, 5939. Okay, so looking for 5939. Run my fingers together for 5939, and we are located in this grid square here. 5950 and 3950. Okay, I'm gonna place my dot right there. That is going to be the lower left-hand corner of this box. I'm going to use my friendly stencil so that all my units are the same size. It looks like I'm writing over the top of Alpha. I am not. That is on the battalion overlay. Right, again for the symbol for the 60s. I'm going to draw my X first. Label it Alpha 1, 3, 2, 5. Okay. Draw my mortar symbol inside of it. And then put the echelon at the top. Right, this concludes our friendly assets that we can add to our overlay. And once we've added our friendly assets, right, this is everything that we can currently construct on our fire support overlay for friendly units, and we're going to move on to targets. So now, looking for, pause please. All right, need to cut this part out. We have completed all of the FSCMs and we move to the targets. So back into the operations order and find your target list worksheet. You will find that there are 4 targets listed there. It does not matter if you're the primary, alternate, or no observer for these targets within Alpha Company, you will plot all targets. So we're gonna plot these 4 targets and then label them correctly. The first one is going to be Kilo November 5000. All right, but the thing we want to look for here, find the grid first, and then we have an attitude and length. So this is a linear target. So we first have to find our grid. So I'm going to start working to plot this target. And the grid square is going to be 6334. Which is here, 6334. Okay, grid itself is 6330, so slide my protractor to 30, and then 3480. 3480. Okay, that dot represents the center of this line. Okay, but the line is not just east, west, north, south, it's at 3000. So for us to construct based off of the dot that I just put, we're gonna put the protractor over the top. We're gonna align it so that the 0 is running parallel with one of the grid lines, or the 3200 is running parallel with one of the grid lines, right? And from the corner of the protractor, I'm gonna find 3000. And I'm just gonna put a little dot at the edge of 3000 so that I can see it. I'm gonna line my protractor up so that that line, knowing that the length is 400, so if I put the 4 on there and I line it up with that dot that's at 3000, and I'm just going to draw from the 6 down to the 2. Okay, each side of them is 200, so the side's 200 total. So I'm going to go from 6 to 4. You can pick any number you choose. And then I'm going to label this target at the top, Kilo November 5000. Okay, and now our first target is on the overlay. Our next target, Kilo November 5005, grid square. This one is a point target, so it's going to be in grid square 6137. So find 61, find 37, which is right here. Put my protractor on the correct way. Okay, 6190, move it over slightly, and then 3720. I place my dot right there. And then these are all going to be always 200 by 200 for a point target. So in this case, I'm going to go, I have it on the 6, so I'm going to go from the 7 to the 5. And again here, place it on the 5 dead center, line it up, 7, 6 to 4. Okay, this target is going to be Kilo November 5005. All right, Kilo November 5005 is labeled there in one line all the way across. Third target is Kilo November 5010. This is again a point target. The grid square is going to be 6536. So I find 6536. Place my protractor over the top of 6536. 6545, move it over to 45, and 3670. Place my dot, okay, 200 by 200 again. And I'm going to label this Kilo November 5010. Okay, that is our third target. We have one remaining target on here, which is Kilo November 5015. Grid square is going to be 6338. So 63 again to here. 38, one up. And we are looking for 6390, 3800. Right, this is a linear target once again. So place the center, line up my 0 or 3200 with the line, and we're looking for 2000 here. So I place a little mark outside here for 2000. Right, the length of this is again 400, so I'm going to line that line up, put the 5 over it. It's easy for me, line is good. So 200 each side. I'll go from 7 to 3. Each side of this is 200, so I'll line the 5 up and go from 4 to 6. 5 again, 4 to 6, right? And now I'm going to label this as, on the top side, Kilo November 5015. Okay, this concludes the targets that are given to us from Battalion. We've plotted all friendly assets, FSCMs. Last piece that we'll add to this is company targets, once we have got all the data ready for the company targets and here to process.